Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to 999, the first of the Nonary Games. We made one decision whether we would go behind door number 4 or door number 5, door number 5 being the hallway slash area where the guy blew up and painted the walls red. Now we have another decision whether we go to B92 versus B93. Now, since you add 9 and 2 if you're going to get that digital root, 92, 9 plus 2 would give you 11, 1 plus 1 gives you 2, so you end up with 2, the same as the last digit. 9 plus 3 gives you 12, add 1 and 2 to get 3, you end up with the same digit. Perhaps that's what's trying to be introduced here, but the digital roots up until this point have always required a third number instead of a letter. And if B was just supposed to be 2 for the second number in the inventory in the alphabet, then that wouldn't really change too much. Really, it would be 14. It would give you 5 if for B93, and it would give you 4 for B92. So we went through room 4. We went through the number 4. So if I really am going to have a choice here, and it seems kind of silly in these side doors that don't seem like they have any code readers or anything like that, it seems kind of silly you wouldn't just go back into both of the rooms. We will, if we're going to do this and try and see all the contents, we will want to rewind right into the point where we split here, and clearly we're just going to merge back together and then have another split. But I'm hoping this takes a little bit less time. This is much more on the visual novel side than it is an escape to room side. Here we can see very little decisions, very little puzzles, and we're getting the story told to us kind of slowly, probably because I'm taking my sweet time and commenting almost after every sentence. Whereas if I was just to sit in silence and hit the A button forward and speed up the scrolling of the text and just let it play out like a movie, it would be a lot shorter. The second game in the series, I believe, is called Zero Time Dilemma, so I kind of have this thought that maybe the rules of the game will be changed in the sequel to speed it up a little bit. And the third game is not even the same animation style, and it's more 3D, so I'm hoping that there would be a lot more gameplay in the third game. If not, it would be kind of hard to justify making more in this series, although the idea of being a Saw ripoff or Saw spoof is fine by me. There's really only 2 other Saw games that were official licensed Saw games that have come out in the video game world since the first Saw movie came out, and where if Lionsgate as a movie production company had more of a budget, they'd probably license several more spin-off games. And I guess if horror sold a little bit better, there'd probably be more rip-off games based on the Saw concept of death games, because yeah, that works very much in the video game world. By the way, if you happen to hear train sounds, that's outside my house. So I guess what we will want to do here is go into, let's see, B92, because we went in the hallway 4. I guess that's the idea. And maybe the choice here is that if you go the wrong way, somebody will die completely, just instantly and out of nowhere. Number 9 certainly died kind of out of nowhere, but they didn't bother to introduce him or give him any backstory. A lot of the characters still haven't revealed a lot yet either.
The door on the left has a B92, and the one on the right says B93.
That totally makes sense. It does tell you a few things. You're on B deck, and that the ship you're on has probably more than 100 rooms. Yeah, you would think that, because if somebody had less than 100, particularly like hotels, they often start at 100 if there's only like 30 to 50 rooms on a floor, and they might even do like the first floor makes it 100, and then the second floor makes it a 200 room, then the third floor makes it a 300 room. Here it would seem like there might be a B00 or a B01 room, and they're alternating the room numbers so that odds would be on one side and evens would be on the other side, which makes sense.
All right, let's open them. I'll open B92.
Seems like you're not going to be given a choice.
Okay, I'll get B93 then.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity here to have a video game choice happen.
1, 2, 3.
We're still trying to find the solar system astrological symbol keys.
Hey, it opened.
All the other doors in this hallway were locked, which it really feels like Zero giving you 9 hours and then having you go through hallways that are full of doors locked. Seems like he's intentionally just wasting your time. So the question is he just toying with people to see a game play out, or does he have some other goal to get some information out of the players of the Nonary game? Like, if you wanted to get people talking, you would probably want to give them a less of a time limit, less of a threat and of death, and a lot of items around the boat that would spark up conversations. Just a bunch of random stuff in general. The Netflix Japanese Coke production, Mind, does exactly that. A bunch of schoolgirls end up waking up in a room. The room is surrounded with items, and they're supposed to figure out, or they at least determined that they were supposed to figure out why they were chosen to be locked in the room based on all of the things in the room. And the things in the room are generic enough that it opens them up to have any kind of memory or any kind of association to anything they've done in the past whatsoever.
Yeah, it did. I didn't expect that.
It was so easy.
Maybe this is all part of Zero's plan. I can't say I enjoy being treated like someone's puppet. Well, now we have these 2 rooms. I'm sure there's something in there that will help us get out of here. Let's find it. Santa and I will search this room. You 2 take the other one.
So the 2 girls are going one way. No, wait. Santa's the whitehead girl. So I'm getting put back with... Junpei is getting separated back with June, which I feel like Lotus and Santa probably should be a little bit more suspicious of Junpei and June. Enough to at least keep them separate so that they don't potentially talk together and conspire if they were involved with Zero, which probably isn't the case, but we don't know. Maybe June is Zero for all we know. Meanwhile, the same paranoid thought can go through the mind of Junpei, so maybe Santa and Lotus are working together. So this is a problem with splitting up, is either you're going to have to just assume and act as you completely trust everybody, or you're going to fall down into paranoid fears of conspiracy happening behind your back at all times.
All right.
Okay.
So we may get locked in here, and this may be an escape the room puzzle. Wow, this animation is nice, but boy is it not deserving for all that we've been seeing. So we have here a pretty large cabin with, by the scale of it, what looks like a twice as wide as it should be bath area. I imagine maybe that's been localized so that in Japan often the toilet is in its own separate thing, not even connected to the bath. Sometimes the laundry room is connected to the bath, and they have bathtubs that they tend to keep full of water, and that they will reheat, and they'll only like clean it out like once a week. And then before you enter the bathtub, there is a drain on the floor in front of the bath in which you scrub your body and make yourself completely clean. And then they just kind of soak and relax in the bathtub. Otherwise, in the bed section, we have a pretty big, pretty long bed, which seems to be like 3 to 4 feet longer than the bathtub would be, and what looks like a vanity in the chair, and then a dresser drawer, and then there seems to be a lobby room. The audio that plays here has this weird sound effect it chooses to play every now and then. It just kind of sounds like a whoopee cushion going off. So the vase looks expensive. So I guess at this point we don't get lines of dialogue. I wonder how much we could get for it. Is June interested in making money? Junpei goes, "Are you gonna steal it?" He he he. So now she's blushing and flirting. Okay. So we have hit a thing where,
Oh yeah, how's your fever? You feeling better now?
all of a sudden we get dialogue after we pick up the matches. I wonder if that triggered the dialogue or if there was just a timer effect.
Yes, I'm fine.
So it seems like unimportant story hasn't been voiced, and at some point this game could have been completely unvoiced. I imagine the DS version of this didn't have voice acting. It could certainly have had it, but it would have been very believable if it didn't.
Let me see your forehead.
So here's another case of Junpei potentially touching her, and that's gonna
Guess it really has gone down.
that's gonna freak out a Japanese person for sure. And they don't like to be touched.
Worried about me?
This is a laughable choice of options here. Yes, I guess I am. Of course I would be worried about her. She passed out, she had a fever, and she's in a Saw horror movie death trap with everyone else. There's literally no reason to not be worried about her. On the other hand, does that mean I am going for the true love romance path? Not really, but it doesn't benefit anything because I am going for the win the game in the best possible ending path. I don't see a reason why I would blow her off and irritate her. So being nice and pretending like you're more interested in her than you actually all are is perfectly the right response. Like, you could have her think you're totally in love with her right up to the point where you escape, and then you go, yeah, I was just putting on airs to help us all escape, sorry. Pretty much, even if you did go on go through a course of events like this and fall in love with somebody, I think the trauma associated with the course of events in which these two characters re-met, pretty much guarantees that they have no chance of a relationship. Like, every time they would look at each other, every time they would think about how they met, every time any little thing reminded them, they'd be having effectively post-traumatic stress disorder flashbacks.
Yeah, I guess I am.
So there's really not a logical end point here in which these two end up. That's very movie-like and silly to think that through this great diversity and struggle, these two are going to end up as a romantic couple. They may end up as friends and survivors together, but yeah, they're not going to want to see each other's face every day. Now we have another arm moving animation, which always feels off, and you have her giggling. It almost makes her feel a little too young, too. And the main character, you kind of assume that he's either in college or already out of college, so you're thinking like 25 plus, which means she should be the same age or a year or two off of that.
By the way, Jumpy?
And she's still calling him by that nickname, which probably in Japanese would translate better. I don't think any Western person speaking English would say, "Don't, you can still call me Jumpy," from an elementary nickname. I definitely would not want to have had an elementary school nickname, and even if I did have one, I wouldn't have wanted people to call me it even by the time I was in junior high or high school, let alone when I was a full adult.
How did you end up here?
I guess Junpei didn't tell her.
What do you mean? I told you earlier, didn't I?
There was a man with a gas mask when you got home at night.
Yeah, he said that. What's more to say?
You inhaled some white smoke and passed out.
Yeah, it seems like we're getting the same story told to us again. Sure, it maybe has been an hour since we last saw this part, but I don't know if this was written to be more of an episodic game. I don't know how you could do that, or if they just knew people were going to get very tired and take long breaks, which if that was how they were thinking people were going to play this game, that means there would have been a high chance of people walking away from the game and not finishing it. And it almost feels like this is being written almost like a episodic manga that would come out once a week, or an episodic anime that would air once a week.
When you woke up, you were on D-Deck.
That's the only real reason why you would want to just repeat the same things, unless you're just trying to repeat something to point out that there's some kind of inconsistency or something wrong with this, what he's saying.
Damn straight.
Of course, saying damn straight doesn't feel like the right way to respond to her.
But is that really the truth?
What?
So she's questioning him. Interesting.
Jumpy, are you hiding something from me?
So she's swung very wildly from being giggly to being accusatory.
No, why would I?
Well, if you think about it, this is awfully suspicious.
She does have a point here, from her perspective. It could be that Junpei just kidnapped a bunch of random people and then pretended like he was kidnapped himself just to try to get close to June.
I mean, why would two childhood friends bump into each other in a place like this?
So her suspicion is kind of casting suspicion off of herself.
Hey, I could ask you the same thing. Are you hiding something?
What would I hide?
Well, I don't know. Anything. I mean, you're hiding it. How would I know?
This is kind of a pointless conversation when you're trying to save yourself from dying and you have like 7.5 hours left.
You mean like the number of men I've dated?
Yep, this is a weird conversation, getting even weirder. I wonder if maybe that white smoke has made them all crazy. That would explain number 9 at least.
Do you want to know?
Seems like she's teasing him at this point.
Don't worry. Only 18.
18, which would be a base number of 9.
Times 0.
So I suppose it's worth mentioning in the Japanese culture, like, you kind of only get one official date in which you go out with someone, and then by the time you're on the second date, pretty much everyone assumes that you guys are completely steady, and by the time you're doing any more dates, you're practically engaged. So yeah, single couple dating is not done much unless you're going to sneak around and hide it from basically everybody, because a lot of times you're in small Japanese cities where everybody knows everybody, and rumors will be spread, and that will bring shame to your family and embarrass you. The way they get around that is there's a lot of group dating, as it were, like three or four couples going out and singing karaoke, hanging out, just goofing around, so it doesn't look like anybody is alone with anybody else. And it is also, I guess, worth mentioning in Japanese society, and I should probably point out that most of what I know about Japanese society has been extrapolated and potentially could be wrong from like anime and manga, but I don't think I'm that off. But a lot of the schools in Japanese societies are super authoritarian and controlling, so it's not unheard of for there to be some kind of school rule, unofficial or official, that says a high school student cannot date, on top of the parents telling their high school student kids not to date because they have to study, which all ends up with the very true reality of a very old population of people in Japan, with not too many people getting married and having children to replace that old dying population because of their lack of ability to have time. When you're working, you also don't have time to really date or meet new people. Also, it's so expensive to live in Japan. There's not a lot of motivation to try and date and have a wife or husband that you might have to support financially, or have children that you would definitely have to support financially. So it's just a bad situation in Japan if they want to maintain their population count, and on top of that they don't want to allow immigration to happen, so they're in this weird position where the entire country might just decide to die of old age instead of replacing its populace.
Yeah, I guess I just haven't met Mr. Right yet.
We're still bouncing to this romance path. Feels weird. It feels really weird to have what seems like a pretty normal, straightforward romance path in a jigsaw horror game. Usually, in a lot of Japanese horror stories, if there is a romance path, it is a demented, insane love romance where like one person is in totally crazy killer and the other person is going along with their insane serial murders or something like that. We may have to pull out the phrase tsundere, which breaks down to lovesick, which usually breaks down to the idea of being an obsessive person who's in love with someone else, even if that other person doesn't even know you exist. But there is also kind of a lighter way to use it, in which a tsundere is maybe just a little bit aggressive romantically. But this character, June, she's not being drawn by the standard art style in which I would say a tsundere is usually drawn, but she might be one of those characters. But that won't be revealed until a lot longer.
Yeah, I see.
We'll probably have a little bit of Japanese inequality of the sexes here, because I bet she doesn't bother to ask how many girls he's dated.
Anyway, I'm not hiding anything.
Yep.
Just like you, Jumpy. When I woke up, I was on D deck.
I still find it weird that everybody was on D deck. Everybody seemed to be able to leave their room except for me. And I had to do a escape the room puzzle. And then everybody else went all the way to A deck and then went back down and met me way later.
Well, you do have a point.
at a certain point, it almost feels like everybody is conspiring against Junpei except for Junpei, and the other 8 people are all bad guys. And that might very well be the case, is that they might have all done something bad in their lives and not want to admit it.
I mean, why did Zero pick us? We haven't seen each other since elementary school.
9 doesn't break down into anything. Like, there aren't even in the Japanese blood type, where there was this famous guy that wrote a book about blood types, and there's this thing called RH positive and RH negative, which is just a subcategory of being A positive, B positive, and O blood types, A O negative, O positive, things like that. And somebody wrote a dating book that he said certain personalities are based on whether they're RH positive or RH negative. So most people in Japan know their RH on top of their blood type. But I don't think all those combinations ends up with having 9 different variants. And yeah, that book was just hogwash, like any other kind of personality test based on what astrological sign you were born under.
I wonder. Look for what connects the victims. That will lead you to the culprit. Do you remember Seven saying something like that?
Yeah, I do. So?
She seems to really just be recalling what was already said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this must all have something to do with a classmate of ours.
Yeah. Well, that will narrow it down to 30 to 100 kids.
You got any ideas who it might be?
No, nothing.
I think what you run into here is you'd run into a timeline issue. Unless Clover was grabbed just because she was the sister of Snake. Clover being younger means that she could not have been alive and around when these two were in elementary school. She would have been at the very least a baby. Unless she was like in kindergarten when these guys were in sixth grade. Which maybe at that point. But that at least that means that if there is a connection between these people, it starts at least at the day of Clover's birth. They can eliminate anything that would have happened before then, and that would be several years. And then if you think about, say, Lion or Ace, he seems to be probably the oldest person in the events of the story, so he probably would have been out of school, or mostly out of school, before anybody else was in school. So that might narrow down where possibly all of these people could be connected in any way.
Oh.
Well, if it had something to do with school, then it could be one of our teachers, or maybe the principal.
Yeah.
Or the janitor, or the lunch lady.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless to waste time even speculating this. Like, I think you should just play the game and think about these thoughts while you're playing the game, and just kind of look. If you think of something, if you can have a good idea, sure, but I think this is all just going to be red herrings for most of the story.
Oh, I can barely remember any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And then if you kind of think about and look at the drawers empty too. And so we found one thing, and then we got we found one thing, and let's see. apparently to move forward you have to click on the wall. So this is a bathroom wall. There's square tiles all over it. This is a blue platform protruding from the shower wall next to knobs. It's for putting soap. I used the shower once, so I know. So, like, yeah, Japanese don't use showers usually. No water's coming out. So this kind of feels like it's more of a Western style room design. Of course, you run into a point here where can't click on that. Like more dialogue not being said. So we're gonna have awkward jumps. I suppose that's the back direction. So because they've introduced the bathroom, because they've introduced it not having water, I guess the assumption here is that every character is hopefully not going to need to use a toilet. But most stories don't show bathrooms, and you can either at your own leisure decide whether or not anybody used the toilet when the camera wasn't looking or not. This isn't a painting, it's a map. Looks like the map of the ship's interior. Well, this is a great find. I think it'll be really useful. Let's take it with us. It is now possible to use the map screen. Map screen. The map screen can be viewed during these only during the story sections. While on the map screen, you can examine the map of the ship's floor plan, which you will acquire over the course of the story. Pressing left stick and A will allow you to see a bird's eye view for that room.
This ship is bigger than I thought.
So we found matches and we found the map.
Yeah, it's probably about 900 feet long.
Must be
Maybe
one of those
that's all we
fancy
were
cruise
supposed to
ships.
find.
Of course, it doesn't really look like a cruise ship. Everything in here is really retro. Huh. Even if it's just some sort of style choice, there's just too much.
Are we somehow in the past on the Titanic? You would kind of assume that wouldn't be the case with the electricity.
Do you remember what Zero said?
So maybe they built this ship to look like the Titanic, but with electricity? Or maybe this is just a Disneyland ride after all?
Do you think maybe this boat and the Titanic have something to do with each other?
I'm very well regretting being with June at this point. She's really just repeating things.
That's a good point.
The only argument you can make here is that Junpei as a character might be just an idiot, and June is repeating things to make Junpei pay more attention to what has happened in the past.
I doubt he would have mentioned it if there wasn't a reason. Do you think this boat is...
The actual Titanic? A replica of the Titanic. Well, thanks for giving me a choice, but I'm gonna go with a replica of the Titanic.
A replica of the Titanic?
A replica?
Yeah, you know, like a copy of the actual boat.
Who on earth would make something like that?
A crazy person with a lot of money? Or a group of crazy people with a lot of money?
Fans. Crazy Titanic fans.
They made a movie, so I imagine they used some kind of boat sets that were replicas of the Titanic.
No way. Do you even know how much money that would take?
No idea. But all they've got to do is break even, you know?
Break even?
Yeah, they could use it as a cruise ship.
I don't know how using it as a cruise ship means you need to break even. You'd still want to make some profit on it, wouldn't you?
Climb aboard a piece of history, sail around the world in the resurrected Titanic.
The reason why nobody has ever done that is because nobody wants to get on a ship that's called the Titanic.
Hell, with marketing like that, they'd probably have more customers than they'd know what to do with.
No, they wouldn't.
Do you really think people would want to ride on a ship with such an ominous past?
No.
It's the site of the worst accident in history.
Not the worst accident in history by any means. I think Chernobyl by far beats Titanic as far as the long-term ecological effect and damage it created, and probably lives lost that were never accurately reported on. Yeah, I think that there's probably several other worse accidents that could be mentioned than the Titanic.
Over 1,500 people died. I wouldn't be surprised if you'd get cursed just for going.
Yep. As far as religious beliefs of Japanese people, they follow a mix of Shintoism and Buddhism, and they like to celebrate some Christian holidays too, and Western holidays. They don't, I think, particularly have major beliefs in any of them in the form of any real dogma, but they do, I believe, Shintoism teaches that all objects have like a spirit in them, and that if you do bad things you'll be cursed. So there's little superstitions and just reverence for nature and things in general.
A curse, huh?
Jumpy, do you believe in that sort of thing? You know, curses and stuff?
See, this is funny. It still just seems like I'm playing a romance story. Now, when we're left with another choice, I don't know what to do. Like, because clearly these choices are strengthening some kind of relationship meter with me and June. And clearly, if I'm going to use June as a co-conspirator or cooperating person in a future puzzle, I need my relationship as high as possible. So telling her the honest truth and saying no, they're a load of poop, doesn't benefit me in any way. And again, starting a fight or an argument in the middle of your jigsaw murder death trap, not that helpful. Just lie. Just lie. Keep community cohesion. It's the best solution here.
Yeah, well, I guess so, to a certain extent. What about you?
And she'll say yes, almost certainly.
No, I guess that's kind of a dumb question.
Yes, I do believe in curses. In fact, I think it was a curse that sunk the Titanic.
What?
A curse sank the Titanic.
This would be funny if we do have a time travel element here and we actually do go back to the Titanic times, and it turns out that the events that are happening now somehow caused the Titanic to sink, and we somehow curse the boat.
The curse of the Egyptian mummy.
Alright, this sounds like a very big stretch.
Supposedly, the Titanic carried the mummy of the priestess Amun-Ra.
Fairly certain we do have the mummified remains of the priestess Amun-Ra. I'm fairly certain she is safe in Egypt and maybe never left. I've never heard any talk whatsoever of the Titanic having mummy remains or Egyptian antiquities at all. If I recall correctly, the Titanic left from like New York Harbor and went to like London and then crashed on the way back on a round trip. So yeah, I don't know at what point the Titanic would have made it all the way to Egypt. Of course, like you could assume that there might be some antiquity decoration somewhere on the Titanic. That's believable, but it doesn't make sense, and there probably would have been more of a conspiracy theory there. I would say it's kind of a great thing that there are, at least nowadays, are absolutely no conspiracies whatsoever around the idea of the Titanic. There's just one apocryphal tale that somebody said they described the Titanic as a ship so big, or a ship so great even God couldn't sink it, and there's no evidence that was ever actually said or would be said in that time frame, because that would be fairly insulting and inappropriate to say. But that's the only thing I've ever heard about the Titanic to imply that there was any belief ever whatsoever that it wasn't just a random circumstance in which somebody didn't see an iceberg fast enough and crashed the ship.
Which was stolen from a pyramid.
The question I guess to ask now is, how crazy can June be with her still being acceptable to drag along? Because we know she knows astrology, and her knowledge has actually proven to be helpful so far. So you wouldn't want to just like lock her in a closet somewhere. But if she does slide down the path of potentially thinking that Zero is an angel from heaven or something, and that she would listen to his orders directly, then she becomes a problem. Or if she's just so disconnected from reality that she's doing things or saying things that are very unhelpful, that might be a problem. But I don't think she's going to get that far.
And they say that the mummy had a history.
We're getting a flashback now. I kind of wonder if there's going to be a puzzle here.
Everyone involved with it died mysterious deaths. Come on, I'm sure you've heard of it before.
No, I've never heard this story at all.
Those who open the coffin will be forever cursed. Haven't you ever heard that one?
I feel like she's just teasing you at this point. Like, she's just screwing around and telling you a ghost story. Again, we don't have time for this kind of foolishness.
So you're saying the Titanic sunk because of that curse?
That's right. That mummy, the priestess, supposedly, she was special.
What do you mean?
I would also throw out there, I'm not sure Amun-Ra was a priestess and not a pharaoh. Yeah, I think Ra at the end kind of means pharaoh or king, not priestess.
Well, supposedly, she was really pretty.
But certainly a Japanese person telling a ghost story about an Egyptian priestess mummy probably wouldn't get all the details right. So this might just be a mistranslation issue. And very well, in Japanese, she might be telling a completely different story here that has nothing to do with an Egyptian mummy.
Pretty?
Yes?
But she was a mummy.
That's right. She wasn't all shriveled up or rotten or anything. She almost looked alive.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, it's that thing. I don't remember the name. Where your body turns into some kind of wax? Yeah? The fat in it turns into something kind of like candle wax, right? And
This is an odd revelation.
Yes, saponification, but that's not what it was.
That's a big word. That's a $5 word for a game like this.
Huh?
That's not it. She wasn't wax.
Then what was it?
They say that she was frozen.
What? Frozen?
That's right. The whole body was frozen solid. You know how a human body is more than 60% water?
This is so off the main story. I don't know if this was supposed to be falling action or just time to recover from what we've seen up until this point, but it's not really working because what we've seen up to this point really hasn't been that dramatic or interactive or frustrating. Like, I literally could have, after the, let's see, let's just look at the flow here. We're apparently in another section that hasn't even been revealed yet. Like, after that first escape room, these 4 novel sections, which maybe only have one choice in each of them, I could have just hit AAA on them and moved the whole story forward and not really even missed much.
Well, all of that water was frozen. The story says that from the time of its discovery all the way through to when it got put on the Titanic.
She's talking some very unscientific things at this point.
Even though it was carried through the desert, her body never melted.
But this whole story is just pointless regardless.
That's crazy.
I'm glad Junpei at least says that much. This whole story is crazy.
I think so too, but maybe it's true and we just didn't know about it before.
Yeah.
I didn't know?
Yep. Maybe it's common sense to eat shaved ice in the desert because it lasts forever.
That seems like that is a phrase that was translated from Japanese that would make a lot more sense. In English, to eat shaved ice in the desert, being common sense, is not something I've ever heard of.
Huh? Nah, that seems too silly to be true.
But maybe it isn't. It just appears that way because you didn't know it was true.
I don't know if she's screwing with me or if she's actually crazy and she's now trying to sell me on a conspiracy theory here. But I personally don't like it. Like, if I was talking to a person like June and she went into this, the conversation would get wrapped up very fast. And I would not want to be in the same room as June for the rest of this jigsaw murder puzzle game.
Well, yeah.
Like, she's making me less comfortable than the potential being blown up would make me uncomfortable.
Ice that doesn't melt even in the desert? Does something like that really exist?
I wonder if she's messing with his head, or if this is all some kind of hallucination or dream, or if she's potentially trying to give you a hint without revealing something. What might have been this case is she may have had a note in her pocket, since everybody seems to have had a note in their pocket, and hers might have said, here are all the solutions to the puzzles, but you can't let anybody know that you know the solutions, otherwise I'll blow you up or they will turn on you.
No, even if it did, it wouldn't really be ice anymore, would it?
Ice that never melts in the desert or desert. Like, deserts technically are dry, humid places. So it's possible that a place like the South Pole or Antarctica, North Pole, those areas are actually deserts also, because they're dry in the sense that it doesn't rain and they're kind of oddly humid. But maybe there is a hint in this too. Ice in the desert, shaved ice dessert. Or maybe she's just crazy. Has a weird conversation. It feels like... Let's see. That seems realistic. They probably have it in here because your throat always feels dry when you wake up, you know. My throat's dry, but I'm thinking that's because I'm a little nervous right now. Well, we did run a lot, so we're kind of sweaty. Hey, Jumpy. Did you want to take a shower together? Oh, seriously? Like, whoa. Giggle, just kidding. Too late to take it back. My brain's already worked out the picture. My throat was dry already. This sure isn't helping. Wooden cupboard, there are cups inside, surprising no one. If you're on a boat, you would kind of want anything on the top that was supposed to be there to not fall off on the edge. This is also a weird bed because it kind of is designed in a way for almost like a kid, so they couldn't roll out of bed. So yeah, the boat shifts and turns. This falls on the floor and breaks, and you have broken glass right in front of your bed, but the people will stay in bed. That's not consistent logic. Let's look at the map. Let's see. It doesn't seem like I can do anything else with the map. I thought there was some other option, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. Let's pull back the sheets. Has some designs on it. Someone's made the bed. At least never unmade it. There's only bed sheets under the blanket, nothing exciting. 2 pillows next to each other. Guess it's a double. Huh? What's up? You're turning red. Oh man, is her fever back? Hey, are you alright? Do you need to lay down for a minute? I'm fine. I think it's just still a little early for that. Huh? Hey, seriously, are you really okay? So, yeah, she's insane, basically. I mean, I don't know how else you would phrase that. Like, she seems to be fantasizing and having lewd thoughts in the middle of potentially being murdered. And there's just a lot of stuff here. This mirror for the dresser. Now she's playing with her hair. Does she even realize she's doing that? Hey, we don't have time for that. Come on, it's not like there's anyone here you need to impress. Yes, there is. Who? What? Why are you so quiet all of a sudden? Oh, forget it, Jumpy. Yeah, she's like totally infatuated with you and in love. So she's very, very suspicious at this point. I mean, sure, she could have been secretly in love with you the whole time, but there's some real inappropriate reaction here where I think all the other characters have reacted very, very close to how I think a real person would interact. And this just is not a story to try to put a romance in. Here we have a dresser key. Key. Do you think this is a key to the dresser? Alright, well. So. If I have a key, do I need a key? Or is this just a key to the earth door? I think it might just be the key to the earth door. Here we have a picture. This is kind of weird looking picture. Do you think it's an abstract painting or something? Looks kind of like a demon or with an elephant long nose sucking on a human's brain. She is insane. She is totally insane. What's her brain made of? Okay. Let's go to items, which should be the Y button. And let's see, search this. Keys found in the dresser. Looks like there's a room on the other side of this picture. Odd looking picture with black and white pattern. Looks like there's a room on the right side of this picture. Is it possible that there is a single tile here that's a specific shape that's different than any of the other shapes? Something that would be an inverted version of the standard images? Not from what I can tell. So unless there's just something hidden very sneakily in the framework, I think we're done. Jumpy, where are you going? I was thinking of going over to Lotus's room. Why? What do you mean when? I'm just gonna check up on them. Is there something wrong with that? Well, no. Come back soon. Sure thing. I'll leave the rest to you. Sure. Sure, leave it to me. Alright, off to the other room. Alright, this is great because now when I click on something I don't get double the dialogue. It almost feels like this room is completely completely mirrored. There's a square tile in this frame. It is glued in there quite well. I don't think you can take it out. Trying to move backwards, and you can't do that with the down on the D-pad, and it's not the left and the right stick. It's not the left and the right thing, so maybe B? Yeah, B worked. It looks... That's the shower knob. So now we're gonna just have Lotus tell us almost the exact same response. I tried turning it, but no water comes out. So you just want to like confirm things. Whoa, look, Junpei. There's a mushroom going out of the wall. That's a shower head. So yeah, we're just searching the same thing. Is there anything in the toilet? Guess not. Tank's empty too. Some toilet paper. We've got 2 rolls, I guess. And the shower curtain is missing. Interesting. When we're over here and I try to click on this bottle, it doesn't do anything. Candle with a candlestick. This might come in handy. So we can now start this and melt this and see if there's something we need to do with it, but let's kind of wait before we do that. Hey, check this out. This is a pretty nice sofa. I know, it's a shame I can't take it back with me. Well, this is a display case. Check it out. These plates and stuff look really expensive. I want to take a look. Alright, so we can see there's a solution there. Come on, you stupid thing, open. It's locked. Yeah, looks that way. I need to find a key to open it. The real thing... That's the wrong key. It's gotta be another one somewhere around here, otherwise we're not gonna be able to open this thing. The real thing I would say, if I was in this game, is I would talk to Lotus and Santa about how crazy that conversation was. Just, I would say, you guys need to keep an eye on June. She's a little out there. I think she might be in love with me too. And if they're all Japanese, I think you might say, I think she might be a tsundere. So I'm not quite ready to... Hey Junpei, that room's pretty dark. Don't you have something that'll give us some light? Something that'll give us some light. Okay, so they won't let me through the area. Maybe that means... Interesting. I don't know what started that conversation. I hit like the right bump on accident. And now I can press up and down on the D-pad. Combine that with that. I know. If I use the matches to light the candle, now I have a lit candle. So you lit the candle. I'm sure there'll be a light in dark places when all of the lights go out. So now and here we go. Also with the light from the candle, maybe we can look around over there. But I guess it gets hot when... But it gets so hot when I hold it. I want to put it down. Well, why don't you set it on top of the dresser? It's flat there. At least it won't fall over. Oh yeah, good idea. Wow. Kind of crazy to have to be told to do that much. Hey, it got pretty bright. Now I can look around a little. Dresser drawer is locked. We'll use the key. Let's see if this works. Yes, it worked. So in here we have a piece of the puzzle. Of course, if we have to actually plant each of those pieces. It's a light, man. Can't you figure it out on your own? Hard to tell if it's burned out or not. Of course, now that we have the candle, I guess it doesn't really matter much more. Hey, where are you going, Junpei? Want to check out the next room. Candle's burning pretty fast. We don't have any time to waste, guys. This thing's gonna burn out in no time. We should look around this room now before the candle goes out. We can examine the rest of the room later. So, picture of an old cruise ship. Is that the Titanic? We have a water bottle. Junpei, it's a cupboard. There's a freaking cupboard in here. Are you alright? Cupboard in the bedroom can only mean there's a safe in here. Really? There's nothing here. Got me all worked up for nothing. Now we have the curtain. Well, it's got sort of metal rings, so it probably could hang it from somewhere, you know? But it doesn't look like a normal curtain, the way it feels. I think it's probably waterproof, which would make it a shower curtain. Yeah, I figured that out. 2 pillows in a pile. Oh. So the other two are now thinking lewd thoughts. A pile of pillows. So that's supposed to be some kind of joke. The Japanese language is very much a fan of puns, so I imagine that was some Japanese pun that is trying to be translated and localized to something English. None of the Japanese comedy puns, though, make any sense when translated, because you would just have to explain the joke for 3 minutes straight before anybody would find it out. And it works the other way too. It's kind of hard for a lot of the verbal comedy out of non-Japanese language jokes to be understood by Japanese people. Hey, calm down. Anything under the bed blanket? No, nothing suspicious here. Huh? Hey, what the heck? It got dark all of a sudden. Maybe the candle got blown out. We should go see. There's a candlestick covered in melted wax on top of the dresser. That's a really short candle. Hey, what's this? Top of the candle looks kind of weird. Right. It's all bumpy. It's a key. Yeah, I saw that coming. See, this is the problem, is that if you've played enough puzzle games, some of this is kind of obvious. So we open that. Alright, pull that open. And that gives us another piece. Don't you think the pattern of on the tile looks like something? Yeah, I think I saw it somewhere. Like, no, no. Can we combine these two? Not yet. That's gonna be a whole separate puzzle.
Here, take this.
So now Santa is gonna give us something else. Now, wasn't it Santa that had the official rules in his pocket in the first place?
A bookmark.
So we're getting some other item. It kind of feels like every character was given some item in their pockets, and they just aren't revealing that.
What is this for? Do you want me to read a book?
It's a clover bookmark.
I found it in between some of the cushions on the sofa.
Okay.
Pretty sure it ain't gonna be any help to us, but I figured we might as well hang on to it anyway.
And apparently everybody's decided to dump all the junk in Junpei's
Then why don't
pockets.
you hold on to it?
You know what I hate most in the world?
Well, we're gonna get some backstory whether we want it or not.
I got 4 things.
He's narrowed down what he hates most down to 4 things. Okay, fair enough. I don't think I could do that easily.
Hope, faith, love, and luck.
Okay, those are some interesting things to hate.
Hope, faith, love, and luck?
He wants, basically what he's saying is he wants people to enact their own fate, as it were, and not hope that something happens to them, or have faith that something would happen to them, or hope or have loved ones that would act on their behalf, or hope for luck to happen.
Damn straight.
Right. And that does kind of fall into Santa's character personality traits, is that he just wants to do things himself.
And you hate these things?
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
Like, you probably want a little bit more explanation, but at least this is an interesting conversation to have.
Not really, but what does a bookmark have to do with any of that?
It's a 4-leaf clover. He hates luck.
Well, see, each leaf on the 4-leaf clover has a meaning to it, okay?
He seems to be more knowledgeable about this than you would think he would be.
And that meaning is pretty much those 4 words.
Maybe this is a Japanese thing that's being localized weirdly.
It's like a flower language.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's not a flower, is it? So, leaf language, I guess? Yeah, you could call them leaf words.
Interesting.
Leaf words.
Oddly, not the craziest conversation I've had in the past 30 minutes.
Hope, faith, love, and luck. The meaning of the leaves on a 4-leaf clover.
So, yeah, I want you to take it, okay?
Again, it feels almost like Zero gave him a note telling him to give this object to Junpei. Again, making Junpei feel like he is the main character in this story.
Just touching it gives me the creeps. Take the damn thing, alright?
Okay.
Here.
Now, what would be really funny is if it turned out that if I refused to take it, it ends up in Lotus's hands and somehow becomes an object that's important. But I don't think so. I think what we've got here is a case of a game that was contracted out. So it would have had a certain number of lines of dialogue, a certain number of decisions, a certain number of conversations, a certain number of background scenes, a certain number of characters, things like that. Just things you could put in a contract that you would have to deliver on to be paid. And what happened is that this development maybe went a little long, and they had were contractually obligated to have a certain number of decisions, and so they're throwing in these decisions that don't make any sense at all or mean anything. this feels very different from, say, playing like the Telltale Walking Dead game, where every decision felt like it had weight and was important, and every character, at least allegedly, would remember your decisions and react later on based on the decisions you've made now. I don't know if that really is going to be the case here. So, video game logic wise, again, you just want people to be happy with you, and you want to try to be the social glue if you can be that person. So take it. What does it matter? Unless it was poisoned or had some tracking device on it, and you have no reason to suspect Santa of doing that, so just take it.
Alright, sure. I'll take it.
That's pretty much all you have to do. He seems like he is rather actually freaked out by this, and Santa has shown himself to be of a weaker constitution than some of the other characters. He said he didn't want to go into the bloody hallway because it would mess up his shoes, but I think he was actually afraid. And the same may be the case of this. He may be afraid of some omens.
Oh, man, I feel a lot better now. That thing was a real pain, you know?
Okay.
Do you really hate those 4 words that much?
This is a still weird conversation.
Yeah, well, they can all betray you, you know? Hope, faith, love, even your destiny. Well, that's not my only reason.
Yeah. Now would be a good time to say something more reasonable.
What?
That's not the only reason I hate the 4-leaf clover.
It would be funny if he dated Clover and he didn't want to be reminded of her, but also it would be weird if Clover gave herself the code name of Clover, because that was her nickname already.
I just can't bring myself to like the number 4.
Now this is very Japanese. So the number 4, Ichi-ni-san shi, shi, is pronounced the same way in Japanese as the word she, which means to die, which if you say she to somebody, that is the insult word that you shouldn't say. You'll start a fight. That it's just like, I won't even pay attention to you. I won't honor any honorifics or social norms. You're just telling somebody to basically F off when you say just die. And you'll probably have seen that if you've watched enough anime where characters say just die. They're saying the biggest insult word you can say in the Japanese language. And that's not the only reason. There's just a lot of luck thinking, and so that's why most games, most trilogies, most things in Japan don't get named or numbered number 4. So you'll have a movie that's like, well, let's see, Star Wars would be a bad example because they started with Episode 4, New Hope. But you might have like the Transformers movies, Transformers 1, 2, and 3. But in Japan, then the 4th one will be called something Transformers and then just a new subtitle so that the number 4 isn't shown. I imagine Biohazard / Resident Evil 4 was not called Resident Evil 4. Although it might have been because it was a horror game in that case. But yeah, they often skip the number 4. So hotels may not have a room number 4. There might not be a floor 4. In the West, some hotels will skip the 13th floor in the same way, but usually it's just they number the 13th floor the 14th floor, or they'll number the 13th floor 12B or something like that. This is probably a good example of where a few places in this game it would have been helpful for some editorial notes, translation notes. It wouldn't have hurt too much to put in parentheses right now that the number 4 in Japanese sounds like the word death in Japanese. I suppose it is also worth mentioning, since we are looking at Santa and he's got this silver hair that looks very white and he's wearing a white shirt, that unlike in the West where you would wear a black suit or a black dress for a funeral and that would be the color of death, the Grim Reaper black, in the East it's the exact opposite. White is the color of death. So this character kind of is a little Grim Reaper-ish, but they're not that superstitious about the color white. There's plenty of people that wear white dresses on their wedding day, and people that just wear white t-shirts all the time.
What, worried about the 4 horsemen?
So that's a weird localization to try and translate that. And see, this is the problem with localization services in general, and I know I'm having something to say about every single line of dialogue, and really it is boiling down to me just showing off my somewhat moderate knowledge of Japanese culture. But yeah, then that's a bad translation. If you were gonna have that line of dialogue, it probably says something completely different. It would have been easier to just say, "Why is that your unlucky number?" Question mark. That would be a lot closer. Or, what, you don't like the word death? Editor's note: the number 4 and the word death are pronounced the same. I think they're written differently, and that's kind of the problem with this Japanese language, is that you can write different symbols and pronounce them the same way.
Nah, come on, man. That's just silly.
So, we'll have to see what his real reason is.
Maybe back in the Dark Ages, that kind of crap scared people.
But
this is the 21st century, and I'm a 21st century guy.
Okay.
I'm a little insulted.
So what's his reason why he doesn't like
Why do you hate 4 so much?
Why does he hate the number 4?
Because it's a half-ass number.
So he's making a mathematics argument? I hate the number 4 because it's not a good number. I think I could pick a better number than 4 to hate for that reason.
Not the best or the worst. That's why.
Oh, so he's just making the argument that on a scale of 1 to 10, 4 is in the middle. He hates mediocrity. That is a funny argument to make. Yeah.
What?
9 is a way better number.
But seems like he is also kind of showing that he might be 0 because clearly 0 either knows mathematics very well, or he just loves the number 9 and is obsessed with it. It also might be that Santa is some kind of mathematics genius and we might need him later on.
So what if it's last place, right? At least it's not some lame-ass middle number.
I don't know how 9 is last place. I guess maybe if 1 is first place out of a 10.
What are you...
You play?
You play, question mark. What sport are you even talking about that has 9 people on a team? I'm trying to think. Who would have 9 people on a team? Like baseball?
Play.
Maybe? So, I have no idea. You mean like the stock market or gambling? What's the difference? I'll throw that out there. My personal opinion is the stock market is as much gambling as gambling is these days, and probably always was. Maybe he's talking about like a Japanese gambling game. There's a decent amount of that goes on, even though gambling's illegal in Japan.
You mean like gambling?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. What else would I need?
I have no idea. Weird.
In Baccarat, the best possible hand totals 9. They call it Le Grand.
Baccarat. One of the few games I have not been able to wrap my head around. But I do vaguely recall playing Baccarat is a pretty bad payback as far as the odds are. Although you do seem to have some slight control, you'll be better off playing blackjack or poker. I guess it is also questionable how old Santa is that he would be into Baccarat.
But the lowest, most worthless cards, zeros. They call monkey.
Yeah, this seems like unimportant bits of information.
Just like the guy in charge of this game, huh? Zero's a monkey.
What?
Interesting. He's not willing to go along with that joke.
Oh man, you're totally right. The guy who trapped us in here sure is one hell of a monkey.
You know, if you think about it, the Nonary game is really a lot like Baccarat.
Oh great, I don't understand Baccarat, so that would be a problem. I wonder if Lotus works in a casino. Maybe these two have bumped into each other before.
And of course it doesn't use any of that stupid digital root junk. You just drop the tens digit and that's it.
Well, I guess if I was familiar with Baccarat, then maybe I would have made that connection.
Still, it does have the same idea of your final number needing to be a single digit.
Oh, yeah. I guess you got a point.
These two seem to be throwing out more important bits of information than June was.
And in both games, whoever has 9 wins.
The person who makes 9 wins?
Wait, did you forget already? Don't you remember what Zero said?
And again, they have to remind me. At this point, I think the reminders are almost reasonable, because this is just taking forever.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Is there a different way to translate that word? Seek a way out, seek a door that carries a 9.
So, if we want to get off this boat, we have to make a team whose numbers have the digital root of 9.
Yeah, I figured that out a long time ago.
And only the people in that team are going to make it out alive.
I'm not sure that's guaranteed.
Of course. That's why it's called the Nonary Game.
Oh, so is she going to explain what Nonary means?
What?
Huh?
You don't know? Nonary means something derived from 9 or base 9.
Okay. I thought that might be the case. Base 9 or 9, something derived from 9.
It's derived from the Latin prefix nona, which means 9. While we're at it, the prefix for 1 is uni.
Yeah.
You know, like the unicorn, the horse with 1 horn.
Okay.
2 is bi, like binary. Binary means composed of 2 parts.
Okay.
3 is tri. I'm sure you've heard that one plenty. Like trio, triple, and triangle.
Okay.
After that, you have quart, quinti, sext, septum, and so on. And of course, the prefix for 8 is octo, like octopus.
Okay.
It's called that because it has 8 legs. Get it?
Thanks for explaining all of this. I kind of wish this small bit of information turned into something like a note that you could refer back to if you need to know it, but I don't know if You actually really need to know it.
I see. So then Nona means 9.
So, how many of us are trapped on this ship?
8. And unless 0 is trapped on the ship, then 9.
That'd be 9.
And what are the bracelet numbers we have?
There's only 8 of you trapped on the ship. I don't think you count the dead person who was blown up anymore.
They go from 1 to 9.
And our time limit? How many hours did we have?
0 said 9 hours.
The name of this game is 9 Hours, 9 Doors, 9 Lives, so I guess it will be 9 doors also.
And finally, to get out of this ship.
We need to find the door with a 9 that's hidden somewhere in the ship.
By making a team with the digital root of 9.
And there you have it. The number 9 is everywhere in this game.
That seems fairly obvious, but okay.
He's got a real theme of 9s for this whole thing. No wonder it's called the Nonary Game.
I really just want to ask all of these characters, why are you guys dressed like this? Were you wearing this at midnight in your bedroom when you were kidnapped? Yeah, let's go back to that thought. Each of these people were fully dressed at midnight when they were kidnapped. Or they were kidnapped from their beds in standard sleeping attire and then dressed this way and haven't bothered to mention it whatsoever. And we're getting the tapping sound again, which makes it feel like we are approaching a point where we're going to get flooded again. Curtain on curtain rods. Curtain rod running along the ceiling. Let's put the shower curtain on the hooks. Let's spreading the curtain. Wow, there's a pretty obvious peephole. Somebody's really dedicated. With a hole that big, you wonder if they wanted to be caught. So saying maybe the one getting spied on and wasn't into it. Maybe they went into like those home invasion fantasies. Home invasion, interesting. I see. Lois says, you two are really did you know that? I don't get it. Like, now we see that there's an up arrow and an up arrow. If you look at it from a ways back, I see a single tile. I see what tile it is. Looks like it's 5th from the top, 3rd from the right. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3. So we need to go to the other room. And then we need to get the look in the bathroom in the other room and get that piece, and then we'll have all 4 pieces, and when we match all 4 pieces, then we'll have to try and put this puzzle together, I think. And then when we put the puzzle together, I think we'll get some kind of some sort of key that lets us be done with this whole section of the game. It's very weird, to say the least, that there seems to be a lot more here than there really should be, but that we're still just getting novel after novel mode after novel mode. Very little things that are being said seem to be very relevant. We're getting characterization of characters, and that's nice, but it's feeling unnecessarily forced into a story about trying to escape for your life. I don't know how you write a story like this and convince the player that their first and most important goal is to escape for their lives. Let's see, we saw 2 doors up here, which would tell us that there's 3 doors here. That would be 5, which then tells us that there's 3 doors here, which would be 8. And maybe the square in the middle is another door, which would be 9, but probably not. So I suspect that all the squares at the bottom here end up with either dead ends or end up with one of them leading to the 9th door. Yeah, that would be my guess as how all of this is going to break down. Let's see. Still not really doing anything with the calculator. Still not really doing anything with the map. Still not really doing anything with the file. So we can just go ahead and save and make a new save file. Another hour and a half of text with minimal gameplay has passed. It's definitely slow. If you were gonna remake this and have more of a Western sentimentality, you would speed this whole thing up. I could easily see taking this idea and just trying to make an accelerated experience that you would sell on Android for 99 cents to a different kind of audience that doesn't want all the dialogue and all of that. And this game probably still would be way better in quality compared to a lot of the Escape the Room games that are either 99 cents on cell phones or ad supported on cell phones. If you even just sold this game as it was and didn't try to cut down the dialogue and speed the process up, just giving it for free and then having ads pop up, you probably could make a few pennies that way, a few bucks that way, because the game is just so long. It's kind of questionable how many games like this could come out nowadays. You occasionally want to see games like this come out, but they're going to be rare exceptions. Even from the Japanese sentimentality, it's way easier to just have an RPG game where you're throwing in action and fighting some people. You can use something like RPG Maker to at least have something that feels like a game and tell your story around that. There's plenty of games that show up every week on Steam that are RPG Maker style games. And yeah, I imagine we just won't see things like this ever again. And that might be for the better, it might be for the worse. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.